established rich coming right back at you. Sometimes beef in hip-hop is about music, and sometimes it's about pride, and sometimes it's about something much smaller that somehow becomes something much bigger. This story started with a picture, not a diss record, not a street incident, just a picture on the internet. And somehow that picture turned into a war between two men who are old enough to know better. On one side you have T.I., on the other side you have 50 Cent. The internet calls it beef, but if you really watch what's happening, this is a lesson about ego. This is a lesson about emotion. And most importantly, this is a lesson about leadership, because the moment that made this story explode wasn't the picture, it was the reaction. See, for years now, T.I. has been trying to get 50 Cent to do a versus.
First, like, you know, it was really about celebrating each other's catalog. Me and that nigga talk back there, bro. This shit, I ain't just called a nigga out the blue.
Yeah.
Me and that nigga talk back there.
You talking about you were 50?
Yeah, man. We talk about this shit, man. This shit just come out of nowhere. Nigga, we were moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows and shit while we were around each other, man. You know what I mean? I said, shit, what you think about that? He was like, shit, you want to do that shit? I said, yeah. He was like, all right, cool. So shit. I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line it up. And he said, all right. And when I jump out there, nigga act like he ain't know what the fuck was going on. Then that's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? Now, it about, oh, you playing. Then I called my man. I said who I wanted.
You want Weezy?
Nah, I said I wanted 50. That's what I said. He don't want no smoke, though.
Oh, Lord.
He don't want no smoke. He ducking smoke. It's cool.
He mentioned it in interviews. He's mentioned it online. He's mentioned it multiple times over the last 2 years.
Trying to force this man to do verses. And if we're being totally honest, it's coming off a little thirsty. This man has done 3 diss tracks, and 50 Cent has made it clear that he doesn't want to do a verses. He doesn't want to battle rap you. In fact, he put out a meme that had like the stupid ninja award. And in the caption, he basically said, look, y'all get away from me. Y'all still trying to battle rap. He's like, I don't need me to rap. You need me to rap.
But here's the part people keep skipping over. 50 has already told him no. He said he was not interested. And most people with common sense would have left it alone. But not T.I. He kept pushing it, kept bringing it up. And eventually, what happens when you keep poking somebody who's known for internet trolling? They start trolling you back. And that's exactly what happened. 50 Cent posted a picture of T.I.'s wife and the internet exploded. But here's a detail that keeps getting left out the story. 50 Cent did not fabricate that photo. He didn't create it. He didn't Photoshop it. That was a real picture. A picture that had already been floating around the internet for years. People had already made jokes about it before. Memes had already been made before. I mean, it was already out there. But the difference this time was simple. 50 Cent posted it, and that's what made it personal. Now suddenly the situation wasn't about a versus battle no more. It was about a family. It was about respect. It was about pride. And when those 3 things get involved, logic normally leaves the room. T.I.'s family started responding, diss track started coming out, and before you know it, a rap beef turned into a family war. But this week, T.I. finally spoke. He sat down for an interview and explained his side of the story.
You were asked about verses on Shay,
Yeah.
and you were asked about verses with Gillian Waller.
That's right.
Both of your
I was asked.
right, but both
I'm
of your
not out here
responses
soliciting.
Yeah, but your responses led to 50 having something to setting it off.
I'm real big on treating other people the way I want to be treated. And I'm also real big on treating motherfuckers the way they decide they gonna treat me. And ultimately, all of the quietness that we're witnessing right now from dude, what would have happened if that quietness was practiced at the beginning? Absolutely nothing. We wouldn't be here.
Nothing to talk about.
Are you enjoying seeing your sons step up to the moment and the whole family concept?
Listen,
You enjoying it?
I don't. I don't enjoy it. I do not. Simply because I've spent so much time trying to get this little nigga off the ledge.
Talking about King.
Yes. And now he has justifiable means to undo all of the teachings that I've been teaching.
Got it.
I do not like this. No, I do not enjoy it.
Now, Domani kept his cool.
So the one thing that I am proud of out of all of this is that the women and children in our family see that it's a line of men.
I see.
That's here.
Right.
Against who the ever. You know what I mean? And we not here to defeat. Like, I don't give a about defeat. Now, I ain't here to defeat. I'm here to defend. You understand? I'm here to protect what's ours, what we built. Man, this is, man, I die in the street about this, man. This shit ass seriously. This ain't no mother game. I'm not playing.
Now, when you listen to T.I. talk about the situation, you can hear something very clear in his voice. Frustration. He said he did not enjoy his sons getting involved. He said he had spent years trying to teach his son King not to live on the edge. But now he feels like that teaching has got undone. Because in his mind, his son had a justifiable reason to react the way he did. And that right there is where the real conversation starts. Because as a father, you are the temperature of your house. Your children don't just listen to what you say, they watch how you react. They watch how you handle disrespect. They watch how you handle conflict. And they learn from you. So when a son see his daddy ready to crash out over an internet picture, what do you think he gonna do? He gonna crash out too. And that's exactly what happened. Diss tracks, insults, and eventually it crossed the line. A t-shirt with 50 Cent's dead mother on it. And even T.I. himself said that was going too far. He said the moment he saw that shirt, he said that's enough. And I'm gonna give T.I. his credit for that because a lot of people were wondering if he co-signed it. From the outside looking in, it wasn't clear. But in the interview, he said it plain. He ain't rock with that. And that matters because there are still lines that shouldn't be crossed. Even in beef, even in hip hop, even in war. But here's a question that keeps coming back to me. If you spent years teaching your son how to handle himself, why did one Instagram post erase all that work? Why did one moment of disrespect turn into a situation where people are talking about dying in the street over a picture that was already on the internet? This is where the story stops being about 50 Cent and starts becoming about something much bigger. Now, this is the part of the conversation where we have to talk about something real, not rap beef, not Instagram posts. We got to talk about disrespect because in a lot of ways, this entire situation is not about 50 Cent. It's about how men react when they feel disrespected. And if we being honest, that's a conversation the black community has been having for decades. See, if you listen to the way T.I. talked about his situation, you heard something very clear. He said he was proud that the men in his family were standing up for their mama. He said there's a line of men ready to stand up for their mothers and sisters. And on the surface, that sounds noble. That sounds like protection. That sounds like strength. But when you listen a little closer, you start to hear something else. You start to hear emotion. You start to hear pride. You start to hear that word that has destroyed more men than anything else. Disrespect. Because in our culture, disrespect is something we've been taught you cannot tolerate. We've been taught that if somebody disrespects you, you gotta respond. You gotta check them. You gotta make an example out of their ass. And if you don't, people gonna call you weak, soft. They gonna say you ain't no real man. But here's the part nobody likes to talk about. That way of thinking has killed a lot of people. More people than we care to admit. If you really look at the stories coming out of our communities over the years, you start to see a pattern. A lot of violence didn't start over money. It didn't start over women. It started over disrespect. Somebody looked at somebody the wrong way. Somebody said something online. Somebody felt embarrassed in front of other people. And suddenly, a situation that could have been ignored turns into a tragedy. That's why when I heard T.I. say he would die in the streets over this, that made me stop. Not because I didn't understand the emotion, but because I understand the consequences. We're not talking about the streets. We're talking about the internet. We're talking about a post. We're talking about a picture. We're talking about something that could have been ignored. And this is where 50 Cent operates differently than most people. 50 understands something about the internet that most people haven't figured out yet. The internet runs on reaction. The more you react, the bigger the story gets. The more you respond, the more power you get a person you mad at. And that's why 50 is so effective at what he does. He knows how to press the button and step back. He knows how to make people lose control. And when you lose control, you lose the game. That's why you ain't heard a diss record from him. That's why you ain't heard him threatening anybody in the streets. Because he don't need to. The chaos is happening without him. And the craziest part about this whole situation is that it didn't even have to go this way. If you go back to the beginning of this story, it was about a versus battle. T.I. wanted it, 50 Cent didn't. That should have been the end of the conversation. But when somebody keeps pushing a door that's already closed, sometimes the response is petty. And that's what this beef has become. Petty and emotional and unnecessarily dangerous. Because when a man starts talking about dying in the streets over an internet post, that's when you know the perspective is off. This ain't a trap house dispute. This is a social media argument. And social media arguments are designed to make people look crazy. They are designed to make people react. They're designed to turn emotion into entertainment. And the moment you start playing by those rules, you already losing. Now we have to talk about the most important part of this story. Leadership. Because whether people want to admit it or not, this story is really about a father and a son. And when you listen closely to what T.I. said in that interview, you can hear something that a lot of fathers struggle with. He said he spent years trying to get his son off the ledge. He said he spent years trying to teach him to handle himself. But now he feels like all that teaching is undone because his son feels like he has a justifiable reason to act out. And that's the part that stuck with me, because if one moment of disrespect can erase years of teaching, then what were we really teaching? This is a question that every father should ask himself. When your child sees you react to disrespect, what are they learning? Are they learning patience? Are they learning wisdom? Are they learning self-control? Or are they learning that every time somebody says something you don't like, you gotta go to war? Because children don't just hear your words, they study your behavior. They watch how you handle pressure. They watch how you handle humiliation. They watch how you handle disrespect. And that becomes their playbook for life. So when King saw his father in the middle of a public beef, what message do you think he received? He received the same message most young men receive. Protect your family. Defend your mama. Never let disrespect slide. And again, on the surface, that sounds like honor. But when you don't balance that with wisdom, it becomes recklessness. It becomes emotional decision making. It becomes the mindset that has put a lot of young men in prison for life or worse. Because here's the reality. The internet is not the streets. An Instagram post is not a threat. A meme is not a war. And if you treat every moment of embarrassment like a life or death situation, you're going to spend your whole life in a conflict. This is why wisdom matters. This is why leadership matters. And this is why the head of a household has to think differently than everybody else. Because sometimes the strongest move a man can make is not reacting. And that's the part of the story that I hope people hear. Because hip-hop has a long history of beef, but hip-hop also has a long history of men growing out of it. Men learning that pride can cost you everything. Men learning that sometimes the internet is just trying to bait you. And the people who win are the people who don't take the bait. Whether you side with 50 or tilt, one thing should be clear. This situation never even had to go this far. It started with a versus conversation. It turned into a social media post. And now it's turned into a situation where people talking about dying in the streets over a meme, over a picture, and over the internet. And that right there is the lesson. Disrespect can feel powerful in the moment, but the way you respond to disrespect can shape your entire life. And if you're a real leader, if you're a father, if you're the head of your household, you gotta think bigger than your pride. You gotta think bigger than your emotions. You gotta think about the people you have watching you, because somebody is always watching, and somebody is always gonna follow the example that you set. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.